So, Titanfall's Game Update 6 came out a few days ago, and with it we got improved team balancing and matchmaking, and less of a chance of lopsided matches. Apparently.
Really?
So, looking to take full advantage of the new and improved matchmaking, I queued up for some Marked for Death, where I was immediately placed in a 2v1, myself being the one, resulting in me being chain-marked as the target over and over. I know what you're thinking, that's totally unfair, the other team obviously needed more people to fight me because I stomped them. But instead of reinforcements for them, I got reinforcements. Despite the score already being 3-0 in my favor, I got 4 new teammates, turning it into a 5v2, with an ending score of 10-0. I assumed the 4 were a group since they all showed up at once, so I tried hopping between Pilot Skirmish, Marked for Death, Campaign Mode, and Attrition, and I got myself a 10-round win streak. It seems the game's matchmaking decided that I wasn't very threatening, which resulted in one-sided stomp fests one after another.
Jesus Christ! I warned you!
I decided to do some math to try to work out how the matchmaking actually functioned, considering the vague and unspecific improvements. I tried to see how 3 matches in a row adapted, and don't worry, I have a simplified version for those not mathematically inclined. I tested various comparisons, teams determined by level, teams determined by score, and teams determined by profit, with compensation for potential groups in a public lobby, and for all 3 calculations, the results were basically indistinguishable from random chance. The way this was done was to take people at the end of the match and look at what teams they were assigned to for the next match, based on different interpretations of the player's worth. Let's start with profit. The game mode for this was attrition. Profit was derived based on taking the points someone earned and subtracting the points gained by the other team from killing them. So for example, in Pilot Hunter, where all that matters is pilot kills, if someone kills 2 pilots and is killed 10 times, their value is -8, because while they did get 2 kills, they also fed the other team 8 kills more than they earned. Ranking players from highest profit to lowest, and marking new players who joined in the lobby afterwards with the designation New Meat, the team assignments for each following match were what's currently displayed on screen. Basically what it means is that the top 3 players in 2 of the 3 games were all placed on the same team for the next match. The top 2 were placed on the same team for the next match every time. The better players were repeatedly placed on the same team for the following round, including player 1, who was myself in 2 of these cases, and I wasn't in a group and could have been placed on the other team, being switched with the New Meat to balance things out, who in each case joined the lobby before the next round begun. The calculation for that I did by taking the profit of both teams and seeing if they'd be closer together, meaning a closer team score, if player 1 was switched with the new guy who joined before the match started. In each case, the answer was yes. Simple version. Teams kept being stacked even when the top player was not in a group. This basically rules out team assignment based on profit. Now let's try total score. What I mean by total score is a more primitive and less efficient value system that is commonly used. Say player A has 4 points, player B has 3 points, player C has 2 points, and player D has 1 point. If teams are assigned based on total score, what'll probably happen is players A and C fight players B and D, or players A and D fight players B and C. The former was the system used in Modern Warfare 2. Again, this system lacks any confirmable implementation that could be adequately quantified into a pattern, partially because players 1 and 2 were repeatedly placed on the same team, despite player 1 being me in 2 of these cases, and not being in a group, and having the option of being team-swapped with the New Meat. The third and final test was having people sorted based on level, and it yielded similarly confusing results with or without compensating for regeneration levels. Using any of these 3 tests, I couldn't find a pattern for team balancing that could be sufficiently distinguished from random chance. What I would like is more clarity on how exactly these alleged matchmaking improvements actually work, because none of the tests I performed yielded results that would indicate a method for balancing. At best, I could hypothesize that there's maybe some cross between level and score at play to create assignments my tests didn't recognize, but if that's the case, it doesn't seem to work very well, and the tests I ran couldn't tell it apart from randomness. What is this better matchmaking? Does anyone know? Post a comment if you can shed some light on this mystery. Maybe some forum frequenter somewhere found something in the code that indicates how the matchmaking works, but none of my tests so far have yielded results that contained sufficient levels of evidence for anything above speculation. And even if there is a complex matchmaking system, it's not really a good sign when you have to hunt around for information on how it works. When Titanfall came out, the matchmaking could be summed up by this image. And it still seems to be that way even 6 months after launch. Joining into a late game no longer being held against you is a big upgrade and a significant step in the right direction, but the fact that it's a big upgrade in itself is kind of sad, and things could have been better to help create more fair matches to begin with. Now, the score or value systems that I cited aren't perfect systems, but either seems to be an upgrade over pure randomness or whatever half-baked abomination is passing for matchmaking nowadays. I personally feel the profit system, or better yet, a derivative thereof based on someone's several previous matches, would be a substantial upgrade, as a system for it can be applied to pretty much any game mode, and it would focus on driving the team's scores closer together to create more balanced and competitive rounds, and there's a lot of options on how to balance it. But in summary, matchmaking in Titanfall seems to me to still not be very good. It's improving, but it could be better. I've complained about this before, and I've recommended upgrades in previous videos, and I've long wanted there to be more tutorials to help newer players bridge the gaps they might face, and I promoted and created tips to help people improve at the game. But I'm getting a bit tired of being the bunny from Monty Python. The bunny suit gets old after a while.
I warned you, but did you listen to me? Oh, no, you knew it all, didn't you? Oh, it's just a harmless little bunny, isn't it? Well, it's always the same. I always tell them to do the...